senior and was actually quite, enthusiastic about taking your interview. So he's going to interview you and he'll be asking you about everything.
Yes, yes. Sure, Shashank. Thanks for the introduction. That's a bit of the formalities that we have to do. Uh, but yes, I definitely look for your questions on my journey so far. And as you mentioned, if the audience, any one of them has any question in between, they can raise the hand. We will go to them. Thanks, Shashank. Let's start. I would say that uh, I won't say the author, but as a writer, the journey started before I had even become a central banker because I have been contributing to press uh, you must be aware of Times of India's Ascent, which is for students. So I used to write a feature for Kolkata's Times of India edition when I was in my graduation studies. That was around 1998, 99, that time. So it started right there. After becoming a central banker in 2005, I had joined Reserve Bank of India. There was, in fact, a lull period as far as the authorship or writings were concerned. But again, I was working in Mumbai in those days, and one Sunday, a couple of my senior officers from the HR, corporate HR, they took us on a walk of Mumbai's fort, the old Mumbai fort area where our central office is. And they wanted me to write a piece on the architectural history of that place. So for our in-house magazine Without Reserve, and there I started. The feature that came out in 2011 for the first time uh, again was taken up as one of the best pieces for the 50-year collection of Without Reserve when that happened in 2017. And someone then just said that why don't you now think of coming out with a book because you have stories in your under your belt. And then I started approaching publishers, and my first book of short stories happened in 2018 December. It was released on the occasion of Christmas in 18. They Go to Sleep. That was a bestseller in the short stories category in Amazon. Number three bestseller. I won't say number one. Uh, and Thereafter, again, this language of lies, it's a novella that has now come in 2021. A language of lies, like the name says, that it talks about the language spoken by fraudsters, whom we also known as confidence artists, people who make confidence of others, uh, who incites confidence in others, in believing them, in putting not only their money but also uh, everything that they have, all the resources that they have at the disposition of the fraudster. The thinking is simple. As you had mentioned in my introduction, I had worked as the market intelligence officer of RBI in the Northeast. Now, Northeast is a part of our country which is financially, it's still backward in the sense that financial services in the formal sector has not really penetrated much in the Northeast. And though the people are educated, because Mizoram is the state where 100% literacy is there. People are educated later wise, but the financial literacy part is really amiss among most part of Northeast, especially in the remote areas. The issue is where banks and other financial institutes from the formal sector don't reach, the fraudsters reach those places before even the regulators or the law enforcement reaches. And it has been my experience in those 2 years that people have lost their life savings, people have lost uh, whatever uh, whatever they have earned in their businesses also sometimes, and businesses have been ruined, lives have been ruined due to the working of these fraudsters. But the issue was that while being in service, I probably would not be able to write about the intricacies of these cases, uh, how these cases have unfolded, how they have defrauded people, and how the police, ultimately the law enforcement, had caught up with these criminals. So I had to choose uh, one individual or one particular case, which didn't happen in India per se, but the nature of which is similar to what I have seen as not a law enforcement officer but an intelligence officer there. And when in the case of one individual in US came to my notice, in fact, it was the fag end of his fraudulent career when he was apprehended by the police, not police, but the diplomatic service, secret service that USs have. They that came in the newspapers, and then I started digging back, and the trail started right. And this apprehension, this arrest was made in 2019, but the case or the individual uh, cons that started as early as in 1982. So almost more than for 3 years, 3 decades, he had operated in different parts of the US under different gloves, and he had been apprehended also. It is not that the police didn't get catch of him. He was put behind the bars 11 times during these 35 years. But this final act, which is the mainstay of the book, A Language of Lies, uh, it unfolded between the years 2016 and 2019. So uh, this book is not only an entertainment, I would say, it is to make people aware that how fraudsters of this era in today's state, they they target you, not directly, not it is it is a passe that they will call and ask for your banking uh, account details or OTP and all that. Nowadays, fraudsters believe on making relationships, making trust-based relationship. They take huge amount of time. They invest huge amount of time in it. And when they feel, when they know that we have become vulnerable, we have become vulnerable in trusting them, in believing that they have become one of ours own, then they strike. So that kind of a fraud, and what can be the outcome even for the fraudster, that has also been taken care of in the book. So I have not glorified the fraudster here. I have tried to make people aware of what could happen, what could go wrong with them, and ultimately what is waiting for the culprit, for the criminal mastermind. Yeah. Thanks, Shashank, for that question. Uh, in my first book of short stories, They Go to Sleep, I had 12 short stories from different genre. It's not only about, in fact, there was no story which was on the romantic genre. And I call them the Indian English romantics these days who rule the roost after the self-help books. But my book was the title of the story again was a police investigation story, but the other stories were social drama, even a paranormal story was there with a hint of paranormal and humorous stories also. Uh, but one thing had happened while the readers went through the stories. Most of them came back and had one input from me that all these stories had the potential of being written on a larger canvas. That the story itself, they deserved a much wider coverage, which is not possible in a short story. Short story is like a snapshot. It's not. It's not a moving image like a novel or novella is. And I also agreed with them that these stories are so fascinating. These stories are about people like us, people like uncommon people, but who have faced some uh, unusual, I would say, extraordinary circumstances. These stories are all about people, ordinary people like us, facing extraordinary circumstances. And these circumstances are such that they have made these ordinary people into extraordinary. They have converted these people. So thus, such stories, people, I mean, readers, they believe that they would love to read it in a form of novel or novella. And when I had taken up a language of lies, I knew that if I write again another short story about this individual who has spent 35 of the years of his life devising different schemes, looting people, then I would not be doing justice not only to this guy, but also not to the idea with which this book has been written, that the readers would not get a fair idea of how modern fraud works in detail. Yeah. It depends. I do love short stories. There is no two way about it. Uh, because I have started my reading with not short stories, but with Arkin and Ruskin Bonds. I mean, and those sanctuary features by Ruskin Bond, which are very short form literature, short form content. And nowadays, in fact, you must have seen that the movement is towards not even short stories, but micro content. People don't even have the patience of reading beyond the screen size of 5 and 5 inches. I have been told by one of my seniors in Bengali literature that you shouldn't write anything that covers text beyond your mobile screen. People don't have the patience of reading so much. So uh, when we write today, when then I have to keep in mind the reader's perspective as well. So whether I like short stories or whether I like long form content, because a novel has not many literary things to offer to an author. When an author reads the works of others, he not only reads the story, he not only lives the experience of the characters per se, but he also tries to live the experience of the other author as well. I mean, I will look for a particular sentence in the whole book which stands out, which reads like poetry in a novel. I don't expect such touches in a short story, but the twist, the tail in the twist in the tail rather, is what attracts me to short stories. Uh, but I have done a fair bit of market research as well when I started. When I decided that I would finally go for a published book, because it is the responsibility of the author also to keep the interest of publisher in mind. Your book should sell, and also as an author, I would like my literature, my writings to reach the widest audience possible. So there, the Indian market still it's a huge market because of our population, and the Indian readership, I would say, the readership diaspora, they are fond of novels more than short stories. If we make an absolute comparison, that is my assessment of it. Uh, I firmly believe this, that any form of literature, whether it's a novel or a short story, even, will affect the reader most when the reader can identify with the characters or with the incidents that is happening in the story. So, if it is based on real life characters and real life incidences, the chances are more that the reader would suddenly say, "Oh, this has happened to me. This is me." That the writer has written about, the author has written about. So, in those cases, of course, we immediately form a bridge between the reader and the author, myself. But about classics, about seasoned literature, as you said, I mean, where some writers have used this not as a technique; it comes naturally to them. Uh, they start writing a novel without having any plot in mind. Also, they start writing with a sentence, with a moment that has happened, and they go on expanding on that idea, adding things as per their imagination. It is about the rich imagination of the people. Now, this kind of literature will not affect the entire diaspora of readership, but also the seasoned readers, readers who have started early, maybe in the journey, who haven't really read or wouldn't haven't started their reading experience with something like one point someone. I'm not blaming or I'm not calling any names here, but and one point someone has actually sorry, 5 point someone has actually uh, made Indian literature, Indian English literature, what is today. It has transformed the scene. But those of us who have started their reading their journey with Ruskin Bonds and Edith Blytons, they would also try to appreciate the artistic mastery of the authors. Classics uh, or novels which do not identify with our times, with our place, and even futuristic novels for that matter, uh, will not attract uh, a wider group of readers. That is uh, my thinking, and I could be wrong. Shashank, sorry, I think you are on mute. Yeah, right. Thank you. Yes. Uh, the biggest takeaway, if I can, I mean, put it like that, is after Language of Lies, after reading of Language of Lies, would probably be more cautious in your. I won't say in today's date, interactions don't happen at a personal level or at a real level anymore. More of the interaction happens on the social networks. So you would be more cautious while dealing with any new person or uh, uh, anyone new you are interacting with the way they're communicating to you. And let me tell you one incident which has happened after a Language of Lies. My Instagram profile got hacked a few days back. I haven't got back the profile, and uh, just before hacking, I was having a conversation uh, with someone whom I know for almost past 2 years, ever since They Go to Sleep was released. He's an old reader of She's an old reader of mine, and the conversation went in a tone that is so typical of her person. I know uh, each of my readers who I interact with, how they talk, how they would react to certain things. So everything was normal. Everything, whatever she was texting, the emoticons that were used, everything was in sync with what she normally does. But there was something something amiss. I mean, I could make out that this conversation we would not have on a normal day. So I started taking the screenshots of the conversations, and moments later, I was logged out of my profile, and the then I had also to make a police complaint, and there I had given all the screenshots. I suspected what would have happened, and later on I found out that even that profile the of my acquaintance had also got hacked, and the entire conversation that day was probably happening with a spy bot. Now, this is something very sophisticated form of hacking, which doesn't happen every day, but I do get targeted also. This is second time that was happening, so I could make out. Now, when you remember maybe the Nigerian frauds, the lottery frauds we used to get in our mailbox. Even 5 years back, every day we would get mails announcing that I have won a lottery of a few million pounds here, sponsored by Coke, BMW, or something like that. These mails have one common characteristic. I mean, these mails were full of grammatical mistakes, very poorly drafted. And if someone is applying his or her mind, he would find out that something is wrong with the content of the mail. But in today's date, when we are conversing with fraudster, which is a human, uh, then uh, then the possibility of making mistakes is always there by the human. But in some cases now, and that is the next form of frauds, maybe artificial intelligence is being used in defrauding people as well. So next time you are talking, you are even speaking to someone whom you cannot see, could be a spy bot. Yes, so that is it. I mean, after reading a Language of Lies, it will make you cautious. It will make you more cautious about your day-to-day interactions, and you would know this is an important learning. Even if you don't read the book, I'd like to tell you this, that you are students from IIT. So I mean, uh, I respect a lot the institution, the kind of merit that goes into it. But you are the group of people, the more intelligent group of people are more vulnerable to any kind of frauds. Uh, get it checked with a parapsychologist or a psychiatrist, that it is easier to hypnotize a more intelligent man than it is to hypnotize a fool. Uh, More intelligent people have this belief in themselves that we cannot be cheated, that will always put up our guard, and we always will identify one something is wrong. We'll not go the full uh, path with a fraudster. We'll stop before the final strike comes. And fraudsters target this uh, a sense of, I mean, not breachable, being impenetrable, the sense that we have sometimes wrongly we have with us. Second thing is they target, as I said, our vulnerabilities, and each of us is different. Each of us is different in our perspective. Shashank, if you tell any author, if you, as you told me that I would read your book and I would recommend to my friends to read your book, the author will feel good. Whatever, uh, however big he is, he will feel good from inside. Uh, Now, if you're a fraudster and if you want to utilize this weakness of an author, then you could make it into a scheme also. Like, I will do this bit for you. I'm giving an example. It may not be a very real example, but I would do this bit for you. But what you can do for me, uh, then many of our authors, especially new time, the first time authors, they fall in trap with what we call vanity publishers. Uh, kind of a publisher is there who would who tell that you will create you an author brand. How an author brand is created? We will put your book in prime display at different bookstores. We will have these book discussions not with students of IIT Mandi, but with big names in the entertainment industry and blah blah blah. Your content doesn't really matter. That is the second thing that is told to an author. Having lived this life, I know the vulnerabilities that new authors have. Uh, all of us in our respective profession or our personal lives also, we go through different phases, and COVID is one thing that had affected almost all households. All of us have gone through some difficult phase, and fraudsters thrive in such an environment. Fraudsters use these kind of vulnerabilities, whether it's a vulnerability that makes you feel special in his eyes, or a vulnerability that makes you weak and you would like to depend on others at that point in time. There is no other way to go, so you depend on them and you repose your trust in them, ultimately losing everything that you have. And yes. Uh, Conmanship, it doesn't really talk about banking fraud. It is about conmanship in general, but yes, it does talk about briefly about the Aramco IPO scam that had dropped in the US and Europe in 2018. And uh, Bit of banking. One of the episodes is talk about banking wire fraud as well, but otherwise, it's these all are, as you said, elements of the whole story. It is also the story of an individual who had to undergo severe trauma in his childhood, growing up in his growing up years, and how that had truly formed the uh, individual that he finally turned out to be. But that is not to create any sympathy in the minds of readers. Circumstances do sometimes adversely affect the upbringing of individuals. Uh, Criminals are born out of environment, people say. But it is also true that we from within the same circumstances, same kind of environment, even accomplished people in, I mean, accomplishment, good accomplishment, so to say, good people, even celebrities have risen in the good sense of it. So it is really a choice about the choices that we make about our life that a language of lies talks about at a larger scale, I'd say. You haven't read the book. If you finally find the time and were able to read it, uh, at the concluding page, concluding this concluding sentence is where the protagonist is asking one of his mentors to take care of his brother, who is uh, even smarter than him. The story stops there. So, could be, you never know. Even the brother could ultimately turn out to be the mastermind of the entire scheme of things. Let us see. Yes, yes. The other way around, the writers who aspire to be authors. I mean, author means when you get published finally. Uh, so the first advice is that you should become an author first before you think of coming out with a book. Let me explain uh, this. Before coming out with a book, you can get your writings published or printed in newspapers, in magazines. And we have till date we have a wide array of published magazines worldwide. And when you're writing in English, that gives you the added advantage. Apart from Spanish, these two are the languages which is mostly used in international literature. Anywhere you go, so you have that advantage of submitting your writings to the best of magazines, even not in India but outside India also. And I know few people in who are now established authors in India. Uh, they started their writing journey by when their first piece of article or a poem has come out in magazines like New York. So because that selection by a noted established magazine or newspaper would tell you that you have the capability, the ability to attract the attention of the best in the business. That should also give you the confidence. Now, that will not happen overnight. You will face rejections to start with. So, uh, now is the also is the age where we are impatient to get success. So uh, people feel that the first book that I write will become a bestseller. I'm not going into the definition of bestseller and all. Getting an Amazon number one tag, you can use certain techniques and you can get that tag. But that tag will remain with you only for a particular day or few hours. After that, you'll find that there are no takers for your book if you are not prepared yourself. Uh, the preparation part obviously also involves a lot of reading. And a writer, let alone be an author, should first be a good reader. As I told you, that when an author reads others' works, they look for those nuances which the reader, a normal reader, ordinary reader, will not look for. We look for the nuances of writing, how a simple thing has been made magical by the use of words, by the play of words by another author. And we then don't try to imitate that, but we try to bring in that element of wordplay into our writing as well. So reading is very important. Reading between the lines is very important. When you read a book, if you aspire to be an author, you take notes also. That here, I would have stated this particular. I would have written this particular line in a different manner, but uh, the author has written it in a totally different style. My daughter, when she was 10, she was reading Jack London for the first time, the story of Kish. And the first thing she said after reading the second line is that this sentence is not grammatically correct. I said, yes, the grammar that we have learned and I have learned in my high school would tell us that this is not grammatically correct. But look at the beauty of the sentence. The second sentence itself ignites your curiosity like anything. So that is, grammar is not, uh, I mean, the last determining factor of whether a writing would be a good one or a bad one. So you need to be aware of the styles of different established authors. What works best for them? When we discuss books with our friends, we say we like that particular bit. So what was likable in that particular bit? Whether it is simply the fact that I have identified with that particular scene that was unfolding, or something else was there from the writing perspective of it that had attracted our attention there. You should be acutely aware of that. Then start writing. Start writing means you can write about anything. My gurus say that write at least 500 words, 1,000 words. Someone said 2,500 words. I don't have the time to, but I try to write at least 500 words of anything. If even if it is gibberish, I write 500 words every day as a matter of practice. Practice makes you perfect. So, like the pilots, they have few lakh miles of flying experience before they're finally given that license of uh, flying a commercial aircraft. So, like that, before becoming a published author, you should have written at least a few thousand hundred sentences. Uh, Only then you go to a publisher and say that now I think I'm ready that you should have a look at my manuscript. Mhm. Mhm. Um, Again, I mean, since you read in, I mean, you write in Hindi. Who is your favorite writer in Hindi? I would like to ask that. Mhm. Hmm. I will tell you one thing. Uh, like I have repeated the name of Ruskin Bond quite a few times. Why Ruskin Bond? Is that Ruskin Bond describes one particular scene of an afternoon happening before his eyes, sitting in the veranda of his uh, house, and that becomes a short story. So he writes about one particular scene. He writes at least 1,000 words about that thing. When you read in Hindi, I would suggest you go back to Krishna Sokti. You must have Sokti. You must may have forgotten, but your if you have gone through CBSE syllabus, you must have written one or two pieces of. Huh. Read her simply to understand how she expands on a simple idea. Like when she talks about his childhood, uh, probably you said you have feelings, but you are not able to express those feelings in written words. So better start with your experiences rather than feelings. What you have experienced. What do you miss most about? Where are you from, Shashank? You are not from Mandi, I guess. I mean, Jhansi. So what do you miss about Jhansi? Start writing about that. You will find that you have more to write about than you have ever thought that you could write. Give it a try. Give it a try today itself. No, no, not homesickness only. I mean, what you miss on it's not homesickness. It's like the elements in Jhansi, the playmates that you had, the incidences that you have experienced when in school. What did you? What are the weirdest thing that you have done in your school? What is the weird? I mean, when you were class 8, that is the class of transition for a pack of boys. Excuse my lady readers here, I mean, the lady students here. But class 8 is the time when most of the till 7, we are very gentle kids. 8 ignites the feeling of rebel. And we do commit sins that we now think we are not capable of doing it anymore. Think about those things and write about those things. Change the names also if you feel that your friends are going to kill you reading those stuff. So that will also, yeah, that will also make you understand about wordplay, how well you can hide things while telling it to the world about. Yeah. Yes.
Okay,
Uh,
no issue. So let's conclude the session because I think the guys have been quite vibrant and they actually are at the young age they are terrified of asking question that what should I ask and what shouldn't I ask.
uh, I mean, when I address business school students, normally the questions are more on on the banking side of it. Today we are discussing literature, and
Yeah, literature needs to be a little bit more promoted so that people could have interest
yes,
so that they
yes,
can ask more and more questions. But for now, I think we should conclude the session, and I
yes.
hope Saugata sir, you would have enjoyed the conversation.
I have enjoyed, but I don't know about the from the response. I mean, if I don't get any question here, I would be having that feeling in at the back of my mind that uh, the audience haven't really enjoyed the conversation. I don't know about Shashank, but others. So that's
No,
it.
no, no. The thing is like that, these today's guys are like that, they will mail you sometimes they will try to have a conversation with you because
Yeah.
people have students have, but okay, if I will ask the question, people will think me that what I am thinking would I make something different because obviously your profile is so high that I think
No,
students are quite fearful that should I ask with them or not.
no, no, not at all.
How the
I
students work. You had also been a student in your days.
uh, uh, see. I was born and now I'm 43, so I have done things what we have been doing now. Uh, and probably I had been mischievous, more mischievous than all of you taken together in my days.
But sir, we are telling these things when we have done our college, decades back. These,
Yes,
guys are still fresh in college.
Yeah, yeah, I understand. I understand. Anyway, let us
That's
have
the
that.
reason only. It's not about
Yes,
the interest. Obviously, having a banking thriller or a thriller based on frauds, and as you said that the ITs people have, these guys are the best friends of the country, and they need
yes.
to be more focused in their approach, because a lot of things, actually it depend upon them. They are the future of the society, the future of the country. But at the end of the day, they are guys. They are still young. They're still students, and so they will have their own, fear and anxiety.
I will tell you
So
one thing.
thanks a lot, Sashank, and thanks.
Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
yes.
Sorry, you're
Thank
telling
you.
something.
Yeah, sure, sure, sure. Can others also switch on their videos if before that?
Yeah, I would request if you could, switch on your camera.
Once. No, that's okay. Otherwise, we'll take no. Here,
I think IIT
Ritu.
Mandi PV students are even shy, not just fearful, but shy also. I can consider all the girls, but boys, let's come up. Okay. Thank you, Shashank. Thank you, Saugata sir, and thank you to the whole team, Ruvaan IIT Mandi, for having such a beautiful session. Hope you all have enjoyed. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ruvan. Uh, and I wish you all the success for Ruvan as well as Literaria Insight. Thank you for having me here today. Yes. Yes, thanks. Shashank, to make you feel little better, let me tell you that financial frauds also, I have seen senior police officials, judges also to fall for financial frauds. So it can happen to IIT Mandi students also. It doesn't make you less intelligent or something like that. Be aware and be well. Thank you.